All right, joining us now here on In the Circle at D1 Softball, powered by 643. He is entering his 20th season as head coach at Alabama. Of course, Alabama celebrating its 30th season of the program. He's been a part of every season. Of course, he's an NCAA Hall of Famer, a national champion, of course, leading the program to 2012, 15 College World Series appearances, 26 NCAA Tournament appearances. He was voted on the D1 Softball Top 25 Head Coaches of this century. Speak of our good friend Patrick Murphy back with us here on the podcast. How you doing?
Hey, happy New Year, E. It's really good to be back with you, and it's just around the corner because we open up February 5th, and that is truly opening day because it's the first day you can play in the new season. So it's a Thursday. We play Villanova at Georgia Tech, and other than this cold weather, and I heard you were getting a little bit of it as well. It's been a really good preseason.
Yeah, we need to get rid of the cold by the time opening day gets here. That's for everybody. That would be very nice. I mentioned this. This is the 30th season of Alabama softball. You've seen it all there. Tell how has it evolved? Just tell me what's it like for you. Has it hit you yet that it's 30 seasons?
Unbelievable. I can remember we had tryouts for that first team in the spring of 96 because we were kind of like the last staff hired in the entire SEC. And so we had walk-on tryouts. And we were trying to find a place on campus to go, and it was literally an empty lot. The grass was high, no field, no bases, no backstop. It was just an empty lot. And that's how we started. And I think we took four girls from that open tryout that eventually became walk-ons that were on the team in 97, which was the first year we started. And ever since then, it's just gotten better and better and better. And, it's been amazing the support we've had in the Tuscaloosa, West Alabama, state of Alabama communities. They said when we all got hired that it doesn't matter if it's, a card game. If you compete, Alabama fans will come out and watch. And they were exactly correct because the attendance has just gone through the roof year after year after year. Just got a notice from my ticket guy this morning that the grandstand is now sold out. I think this is the 23rd year in a row. And that's one of the best things that we ever did was when we got our stadium, we sold tickets the very first year. So now it's a normal thing for a person to buy a ticket to Alabama softball, and they expect a good product, and we hope to return the investment for anybody that shows up.
You've done that and then some. Do you know when there was a turning point for the program? When you're like, oh wow, this we could be onto something special here.
I think it was, when obviously we've had really good players for 30 years, but we recruited a young lady from Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, Florida, Kelly Kretschmann. And I've told this story before, but it's been a while. But I had gone up to a Yankees game in the old Yankee Stadium, went into the gift shop, bought a postcard, and it was on the front of it was Yankee Stadium. But on the back side of it, on the top left, it kind of describes what the picture is. And it says, the house that Ruth built. So I bought it. I sent it to Kelly, but I crossed out Ruth and I put the house that Kretschmann built. And I told her, I said, once we get our stadium here, that's what I'm going to call it. And I can remember they came, uh, it might have been just for a visit after she had been here. And they finally started to turn dirt where the Rhodes house is currently. And again, it was just a kind of a hill, empty lot, grass, you name it, nothing else. And the bulldozers were starting to turn dirt. And I can remember standing there with Mrs. Kretschmann and Mr. Kretschmann, and I go like, "This is where it's going to be." And then that next year in 2000 was the first year we had our own stadium, and that was the difference maker. And it's on the main drag in Tuscaloosa. It's McFarland Boulevard, and it's the busiest street in town. The engineer was very, very smart who did high definition lights And the first time we turned the lights on, it was like a spaceship landed in Tuscaloosa. And the old saying, and I'm from Iowa, it's probably overused, but if you build it, they will come. Right across the street is one of the most popular restaurants in town. It's a sports bar theme restaurant. And so all those people that go to Baumhauer's just automatically see the lights, and it kind of attracts them over. It's in the middle of campus. So also if it's a college student that's either walking by, running, the rec center is across the street. So if you get out of the rec center, you see the lights, you're like, what's going on there? And it just kind of attracts people. So it was a perfect storm for our program, softball in the South. The weather, the athletes have gotten better and better, and the game has grown. I mean, you can't even put it into words how big it's grown.
No doubt. And your stadium is a bucket list item. Like, I'll never forget the time I went there and I ran into you and you gave me the tour, and I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable. It's even better in person. And really, I thought your stadium, I think in a lot of ways was ahead of its time because it set the tone for now with all these new facilities that we see now around the sport.
Well, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a lover of Wrigley, Fenway,
Yep.
The old Yankee Stadium, actually. And so it's almost to a point where the Rhodes House is kind of the Wrigley Field, Fenway of college softball, and I'm okay with it. I had a gentleman the other day sit here, right here at my desk, and they're going to start doing tours of the Rhodes House.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, paid tour, early morning on the day of a night game. So you can sign up online. And I told him, I said, shoot, if I ever go to a major league game, that's the first thing I check to see if there's a tour of the stadium the morning of the game. And one of my all-time favorites was St. Louis Cardinals. And I can remember some of the things that I saw that day in their stadium, their team room, their clubhouse, and it's just a cool thing to do to see what other people have. And then some of those things, I try to get into my clubhouse, my facility. So we're going to do that. And you're right, it has become a bucket list thing. And one of the coolest things to do is especially during spring break time, March usually, we will play like a midweek game on a Tuesday or a Wednesday where there's no school in Tuscaloosa, and we'll do like a businessman special where we started at 2. And amazingly, we get a huge crowd because everybody in Tuscaloosa is also on spring break. So everybody's looking for something to do.
Yeah.
And there was a time that was, we played at 2:00, and at noon, some of the Brickyard was already full. Like there was people out there. And we didn't hit that day until 12:30. So I had a half hour. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and just say hi to some people. And so it was a family of 4, and they drove all the way from north of Indianapolis. And they looked at the schedule and looked at their calendar. They had spring break. We had a game. And of course, they had a daughter. And she's like, I really want to go to Alabama to watch a game in person. And it was like their bucket list. And I meet people like that all the time. And this summer with the AUSL championships, There were people from everywhere here that had never seen a game at the Rhodes House. And just to meet people from California, Idaho, New Hampshire, Delaware was awesome.
That's incredible. I love the tour idea. I'll never forget one of my favorite memories. I visited New York, and it was the last year of the old Yankee Stadium. So I took the tour of the stadium and got to walk through the monuments and everything. It was just one of my favorite experiences ever to see Yankee Stadium. So, and I think that's brilliant that you get to do that and showcase your stadium there. And like I said, I've always on the air on this podcast and everywhere, I tell people, that's got to go. If you're a softball fan, you got to go there for now just to experience that at least once there. And I think that's pretty awesome. And Kretschmann, she just got inducted to the USA Hall of Fame back, I think, in October. That's the standard. She was one of 6 of your players that made a D1 softball quarter century list. She was among the best hitters of this century. Duh. That makes sense. Kayla Braud, who's on your staff, made that list as well, as did Haley McClenny. Let me start with those two and what they've meant.
Well, with the 3 of them, shoot.
Yeah.
That's three of the best outfielders ever, for sure here, and maybe of all time. But Haley, she's a young lady from 45 minutes away. Could have gone anywhere in the country. Um, Chose her home state, Alabama. Um, just. But the thing about Haley was she came in as a really good player. She left even better because she worked her butt off for 4 years. She never once settled for anything. One of the greatest student athletes we've ever had, too. Three-time academic All-American, 4.0 in her career, has her master's in exercise science, could probably get a job with any sport, football included, at any college in the country. I would hire her in a heartbeat, um, just tremendously driven, talented, but the hard worker. And then Kayla Braud, I saw her at a summer ball tournament. It was 16 and under nationals. We were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I try to watch all the local states first, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, because there's a lot of teams at this tournament. And one of the Georgia teams were playing the Eugene, Oregon Thunder. I just lucked out because it was Georgia versus Oregon. Well, the kid that showed out was number one from the Eugene Thunder. And I go up to the head coach after the game. I said, "Hey, I really liked your leadoff. Fast, throws right, hits left, had a great drag bunt, really good back control, fast." I went on and on and on. And he finally stops me. He goes, "Oh, so you're saying you like my daughter?" And I looked down at the roster. I said, oh my gosh. And it was her dad. And so that's the way we started recruiting her. And eventually we were really, really lucky to get her. And then she hits 506 as a freshman and goes on to be also a three-time All-American and a three-time academic All-American. So, one of the best slapper hitter triple threats we've ever had, probably one of the best bunters we've ever had. Everybody in the crowd, everybody in the stadium knew that she was going to bunt, and she still beat it out. So her touch, her control, her barrel awareness, still to this day, one of the best we've ever had. And now that she's on staff, it's even more fun. She just had her second baby. So she's got a daughter and a son. It's really cool to have that family atmosphere in the clubhouse. Husband is just a great guy. So these two kids are going to grow up with my team. And it's kind of one of the coolest things ever to see.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And I can see she's made an impact too on your team, your program there, as we'll get to in a moment there. I do want to mention Charlotte Morgan, who's now the head coach at Fresno State. I know you're proud of her, what she's doing coaching wise. She made the list as one of the greatest two-way players, as well as the J Train, Jackie Traina. Made it there. They're two who helped, of course, win the national championship in 2012, which was, of course, done. A documentary was done recently there as well. So that's not a bad list. There was other players of yours that just missed. I mean, you can only put so many, as you know, but that's not a bad list to start with.
Yeah, and we're so proud of what Charlotte's doing. She called me this summer and said, "Fresno State, oh my gosh, what do you think?" And I was like, "Charlotte, come on, you got to do this." It's, and for us oldies, that's still to this day one of the best programs in the country, with its history, with its support, with its stadium. That was the first really, really nice stadium in college softball was Fresno State. So the history's there, the community support is there. And I was like, you got to go for it. And, one thing I'll give you right now, I'll give you a little scoop. Next 27, I've been wanting to do this for years, but it's called the Tournament of Champions. And I invited schools that only have won national championships. And Florida State was the first yes. I'm so appreciative of Lonnie and her staff because we've gone back and forth for years, and it's a great rivalry. And she's coming up. The second two might surprise you. First one, Fresno State. Charlotte got the okay from her athletic director, who also worked previously at Alabama. So that was a good connection. And, they won, I think it was 98. But the fourth one also might surprise you, and it's Cal State Fullerton. And everybody in softball should know them. And they've won a national championship. and they've been consistently good for years, for my 30 years of college softball. I mean, I think they've probably been in every NCAA tournament. So it was really cool to hear that they got the okay as well to come. And so it's going to be those four schools in, I think it's the second week of March. So it's going to be a really fun tournament. The business community of Tuscaloosa is already backing it with some really good guarantees, and just we're going to make it a good experience for all the teams that are coming. So we're excited that Charlotte gets to come back.
That's going to be awesome for her. That's going to be a great moment there. And I love the concept on that. Gina Oakes is now the head coach at Fullerton,
Yes.
one of their greatest players ever in the
Yes, I
history of
know.
that.
I told her, I said, Gina, you've got to make this work. And she was so excited. And thankfully her AD as well approved it, because, it's nowadays there's not a lot of money to go around for stuff like this. And
No,
for them to be able to come across the country to Alabama from Fullerton says a lot about the school, the program, and we're looking forward to it.
that's incredible. I'm looking forward to that. You were part of the D1 softball head coaching list, all century team, rightfully so. Among the people you were with was Yvette Gerard, who
Yes,
wasn't for her. You're probably not here, right? We're not even talking. How
exactly.
much? How much of her is still in your coaching style? How much of her is in your DNA today?
Well, number one, she was the hardest worker I'd ever been around. I mean, it was nonstop from office. And, you probably know the story, but at noontime, her mom and dad owned a restaurant in a suburb of Lafayette called Broussard, but it was all hands on deck. And so at lunchtime, instead of taking her lunch break, she would drive back to Broussard and run the cash register from like 11:45 to 1 o'clock, because you know tons of people love this restaurant and it was really good food. Shoot, I would go all the time. But that's what she would do almost every single day during the week, and then come back and we would have practice from like 1:30 to 5:30. And I watched that for 5 years, and just she never took no for an answer. If there was a stop sign up, she was going to find a way to get around it or do something. She was a incredible fundraiser. Everybody in the city knew her, and they also could not say no to her, which also helped. So we had very, very, very little given to us, and whatever we had, she basically raised the rest. And seriously, she probably would have been a really good AD anywhere, because she had that fundraising. She had that way to talk to anybody and everybody, whether you were a millionaire or just a hardworking person that loved the Raging Cajuns. So it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me as a 22-year-old, to have her as my boss.
And still is today, by the way. Still is. Every time I talk to her, she's got the personal. I mean, she gets me hooked. Yeah, it's incredible there. There. We mentioned Kayla Braud. I'm fascinated. I've had her on the podcast the last 2 years because I love this, going from the broadcast booth to coaching. And I talked to her at length about that and that decision. And one of the things she talked about, one of the things she wanted to do is bring back the art of the short game and bring that speed to Alabama. I think we've seen early on that has happened with players like Audrey Vandergriff, which we'll talk about. What have you seen from Kayla here and her development as a coach here over these first two seasons as she enters her third season?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was all with her, but this year we have 11 green light girls. So, and it's the most we've ever had. So we've got some very fast young ladies, and now Kayla's helping them learn the ins and outs of getting a good jump, when to go, when not to go, when to take an extra base, things like that. Because I truly believe that the best base runners coach themselves once they get to first base. And you look at Major League Baseball, you look at pro softball, they are usually the best base runner has these instincts, but we need to give those instincts to them, and teach them, smart aggressive versus stupid aggressive, things like that. but she's been really helping with that. And then Audrey, if she can perfect her drag bunt or even improve it by 20, 25%, she'll be unstoppable, because if she can beat a two hopper to second baseman out, so she can beat that throw. And she's told Kayla already this year that she does not want her speed to decline, and I don't see any reason why it would, because speed never slumps. But that is in the back of her mind, that she is going to be faster, which would be really cool to see. And we have Kristen White, who's also one of the fastest on the team, Larissa Pruitt, one of the fastest on the team. Those three together are just incredibly fast, and if they can get on base, good things are going to happen. And so Braud has been working with all of them, drag bunt, soft slap, hard slap, triple threat, and swinging away. And it's really fun to see her, come full circle and teach them some of the things that she used to do while she played here.
She said it's been a lost art, and that's, she noticed it from the broadcast booth. That's one of the things she picked up on, that it was a lost art, and she wanted to kind of there. What are some things you think she thinks that she's benefited from being on the media side, watching the game, analyzing, that has translated to the coaching side?
Well, I think one of the big things is, every time she had two teams on a Friday night or a Saturday or whatever the game was, she had to do a scouting report. So a really good reporter knows both teams. So she had to go through, read the stats, watch the games, watch a previous game, whatever it might be, then talk to both coaches, the ins and out of that, ask questions. And now, that's what she's doing right now. And she's scouting the first weekend for us, who we play. And, we go to Georgia Tech for a tournament. But that part of it has just been seamless. Very good in terms of like what to watch for. We try to identify the player that's not going to beat us, every weekend or every game we play. Who's hot, who's not, just things like that. So her scouting, it's like she's a 10-year coaching veteran, not a 2-year.
Has she picked it up faster than you even expected?
Oh, I think so. And she did do, when she was home in Oregon, she would pick up some lessons. She did some lessons with some people. So, and, you don't lose that. She's got a good way to communicate with everybody. The other thing that we're going to try to help her or help the team with is, we're one of the most followed teams in college softball with Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and then our media here are incredible. So you do an awesome job, but we have local people that love to follow us, love to come. So, and Nathan Sheehan, our SID, like almost every Tuesday during the season, there's anywhere from 6 to 10 reporters or camera guys, TV, come to practice before practice, and he picks a player and myself. And that media one-on-one, Kayla's going to do a good job with helping our players with that, because she was the media. And it's a lost art as well. There's a professional opinion and a personal opinion. You never give your personal opinion to the reporter. That stays in the clubhouse. You are professional all the time, and Braud knows all that stuff. So she's going to help young ladies like Audrey, and we're going to have people follow us, as long as we're here, we're going to have people follow us media wise.
Yeah, they're public figures. And that's a great thing. And it's funny you bring that up, because that was the same thing I heard when Francesca did the move to Florida. It's the same thing. She came from the media side, and one of the things she does is tell them how this works. Why is this media person asking this question? Why, this, and how do you handle that? It's a super valuable tool to have that people don't think about, especially with the growth of the game now, with all the exposure it has.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to have both of those young ladies kind of do the same career path and end up back at the schools that they played at coaching. That might be a good story for somebody to tell.
It's my favorite story in this, and I've had both of them on. And one of these years, maybe I'll try to get them both on at the same time. But It's my favorite story in the sport because you know this. You're a sports fan. You see that in other sports, this is common to see people come from the media side back to coaching or get into coaching, etc. But in softball, I know Stacey Newman did it years back. Charlotte Morgan did it briefly as well, but we don't see it as much in the softball side. So I'm wondering if these two could be, I don't want to say pioneers, but could start a trend to where we see more of this.
Oh yeah, and almost every school we're on either live, ESPNU, SEC Network, ESPN2, or um, ESPN3. So we're every game that we play, basically you need a play-by-play and a color commentator. So that's two spots for people. One thing that you might not know about Francesca, though, she was our Easton rep for several years because she used to work for Easton as well. And she would visit our clubhouse yearly to say hi, bring the latest glove, the bats, and our players loved her. So we miss seeing her, as our person, but we're really proud of her too for what she's doing, coaching wise too.
I knew about the Easton part. I didn't know about that specific part. That's pretty unique. That's pretty awesome. I mean, Kayla's been a big part of it. You mentioned it. You got more speed. As we talk about this team this year, how would you describe? I want to start with this freshman class because I remember even Kayla last year told me about, man, wait till you see this freshman class next year that's coming in. Describe this class.
Very athletic, number one. Tremendous academically. We had 11 4.0s out of 21 young ladies on the roster. That's the best we ever had. I think our team GPA was 3.788. So off the field, great young ladies, but very athletic everywhere on the field. Like two of the three catchers will have the green light, which hardly ever happens. So very athletic, like a young lady named Ambry Taylor, who's from Jasper, Alabama, an hour away. She can play all four infield spots. I would be comfortable with her in any of those. Garrett Griggs, who might have been the best athlete in the state of Alabama as a high school senior, boy or girl, really. She was the quarterback on flag football. They went undefeated for the last, I think, 2 straight years, was the national high school champion. You know how they do those rankings sometimes, and they were number one in the country, not just Alabama, but number one in the country. She was the quarterback. She played basketball. Her team went to the Final Four, lost in the semifinals. And then finally, she ended up playing shortstop for 4 years for a team went to the state tournament all 4 years at softball. So she's a kid that she could also play all four infield, but also probably 2 out of 3 outfield spots. She's also a green light girl. She hits left, throws right, triple threat for sure. And she's just been impressing everybody in practices. Very, very, very level-headed, but very skilled at everything she does.
Sounds like maybe the most versatile roster that you've had. Okay.
Yeah. Like we did kind of a mini scrimmage yesterday, not a full out scrimmage by any means, but we would do 4 hitters versus a pitcher. First time we did hitter versus pitchers. And then we would rotate everybody through on defense. And at one point there was, one person played 6 spots on the field, and I was okay with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. 2 freshman pitchers as well we got to talk about is Caitlin Palazzi, who was the Michigan Gatorade Player of the Year, and Victoria Moten, who was the Alabama Gatorade Player of the Year. She's from Daphne, Alabama. Both, I think, are going to be really, really good for us. They've been improving daily, and Lance has been terrific with them. Our pitching coach, Lance McMahon. One day in the fall, we were going into the clubhouse after practice, and Vic was right beside me, and I said, "Hey, Vic, how's it going?" Put my arm around her, and she's pretty reserved, almost shy. Doesn't say much, and she looks up at me and she goes, "Murph, this is basically like learning how to walk all over again." I was not expecting that at all. And I was like, oh yeah. She said, yeah. And so to me, it was a great compliment to Lance. She already came in really, really good. I think she had 600 strikeouts, her last 2 seasons combined, but great kid, great young lady. She's learning the ropes. They both are very, very hard workers. So sky's the limit for both of them.
How does those two fit in with your pitching staff? I would imagine add some depth that you probably like, and of course, led by Jocelyn Brisky and the rest of this pitching staff. How do they all kind of complement each other?
First, let me say also Anna Roman, who's
Yeah.
from Beto, Florida. I think one of the best left-handed hitting outfielders, and she's a true lefty-lefty. She's got pop, plus she's a green light girl. So, and she is strong. She's got a lot of pop. So it's going to be fun to watch her. And then the last freshman we had was a young lady from Tuscaloosa area that took her team to the state championship. She caught every single game. She'll be a catcher for us, but really good pedigree in terms of winning. And that was the best high school season ever for Tuscaloosa County High School last year. She caught. So some good, really, really good freshmen. But the pitching, we have 5 young ladies, and I like the breakdown because we have a senior, which is Ailey Johnson. Then we have Miss Brisky, who's a junior. Then Brea Hodges, sophomore. All 3 of them, I think, really took off this fall. All of them are throwing the hardest they've ever thrown. Pitches break a little bit better. Their misses are smaller, which is a good thing. And then the 2 freshmen. So the way this game is going, because there's so much opportunity to learn hitters and learn pitchers and see film, and it's become like a staff, almost like a college baseball, first 4 innings, 5 innings for the starter, bring in the lefty versus a lefty, bring in the righty versus a righty, bring in the long reliever, the short reliever. I mean, the whole thing. So 5 capable pitchers, I think are going to be really, really good. And Brisky was definitely so much better this fall than she was last year. Hit 71, 72 several times on the gun. And now throws a really, really good drop ball as well as the rise ball, which is very difficult to do.
It really is, and has so much experience. She's seen it all. I would imagine she's one of the leaders in that bullpen there, with the pitching staff, by leading by example.
Oh yeah, her and Ailey, Ailey, spent 1 year at LSU and then the last 3 here. So they have seen it all, been through a bunch, 14 inning games. I mean, you name it, World Series. It's just been, it's fun to watch both of them. Now it's kind of like their time to shine. And I was talking to actually Salem Hawkins the other day, who has also had a hell of a year so far. She was probably our best hitter all fall, but we do something called a trust walk. So at the beginning of a practice, everybody on the team lines up on the foul line, and then we have managers, athletic trainers, coaches, whoever else, and we match each other up with a student athlete. And then I give a topic, and we usually walk for 90 seconds anywhere on the field. And then I either blow a whistle or I scream, change. And then the last 90 seconds, your partner talks. And then when we start, I'll say, this is the topic today, or I'll give them a question. And that day was, what are you most excited about this coming year for our team? So for 90 seconds, the first person talks. I'll say, okay, switch. Then the second person. But I had Salem. And I think one of the things that she said was, there's so many new faces. She's excited to see people step up. And then my thought was, sometimes when you have a bunch of seniors, they're the ones that kind of take the load. But we have so many good kids. It doesn't have to be 2 people, like a Kelly Kretschmann or a Charlotte Morgan. They knew that they had to drive in runs. But now we can spread it out over 9 people in a lineup. Doesn't matter if you're a freshman or a senior. We're going to have a new hero every single game. And all 9, whoever's in the lineup, are capable of being that hero.
It's a good problem to have. It's good depth. It sounds to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that all these freshmen, whether they're starting or not, are going to have valuable roles this year and contribute a lot immediately. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And, one of the things I say every single year is I get everybody around, and there's 21 on the roster, like I said, but I'll point at every single person. And I'll say, every single one of you will help us win a game this year. No doubt. because you're going to get an opportunity. But when you get that opportunity, you got to be ready for it. Because I will. And you just look through the stats. You know, I very rarely go through, a season with the same starting lineup. That just probably never happens. I give people chances, and then it's up to them. When you get that opportunity, you come through. And the greatest example was Jazz Lunsford at the World Series in 2000, where she pinch hits for Brittany Rogers, and lo and behold, she doesn't just hit a grand slam. She hits an opposite field. You know what I mean? So she was ready for her opportunity. You're going to get it. Be ready. And that goes for everybody on the team. And then one thing that as a coach or a leader on the team, when something like that does happen, where a role player wins a game for us, everybody needs to affirm that behavior, because number one, she was ready. Number two, she came through. And maybe she's going to be a role player for the rest of the year, but that one time she came through. And that's what makes a really good team.
Really, wow, it really does do that. You've added a couple transfers: Jenna Young, an infield, and then Brooke Wells, who I'm intrigued by. I really have liked her. Followed her since her day, obviously, with she was on the under-18 USA national team. Her mom played softball at South Florida for Ken Erickson, who's coming to your place, by the way. Congrats to get him out of that Tampa region for a change.
That's right.
So that's going to be fascinating. I love her swing and her power. But talk about her and Jenna and what they bring to your team.
And her dad played baseball.
Yes. I met him, in fact. I'm sorry, Brooke Wells' dad, if you're listening. I met him last year. Great guy.
And her brother committed to Tulane this fall.
Ooh.
as a two-way lefty baseball player. So very credible family. We lucked out with both families. Great young ladies, circumstances beyond their control, no issues whatsoever. In the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, why is she transferring? When we do get a transfer. And Brooke both of them had straight A's. I mean, just low maintenance, really good kids, number one. But Brooke, like you said, power. She hit really well yesterday, actually. Just missed a couple in the scrimmage, but in pre-BP, she was crushing it. Last week, we had a long hitting day, and it was very windy, and the wind was going straight across, like from left to right. And she probably hit 15 home runs in the Brickyard opposite. Took advantage of the wind tunnel that was going that way. Really good, smooth swing. Barrel on the ball is incredible. Very, very consistent. And, when she got in the portal last summer, we saw that she was on one of the Team USA junior teams. Well, the coach was Kayla Hollis, who was Kyla Hall when I was at Louisiana Lafayette, and one of my pitchers, and she hit. So, and Eric, this, it's 6 degrees of separation in softball. Somebody's going to know somebody doesn't know somebody.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, I called Kyla and I said, okay, tell me about Brooke. And I mean, immediately, oh my God, Murph, great kid, great family. You got to get her. Just went on and on and on. So that was easy. And then Jenna from Winterset, Iowa, was also a multi-sport athlete, track, basketball, softball. Great young lady, second base, much better defensively, I think, than I gave her credit for. Really good barrel control, lefty hitter, throws right, green light girl. Had 2 ropes in our scrimmage yesterday, hit a double in the gap, and then rope one to Salem that she grabbed at shortstop. But again, mature, level-headed. Both of them are very, very level-headed. They're not going to get too high and they're not going to get too low. I mean, it's almost like having 2 seniors transfer in. But the good thing for us, Jenna's got 2 and Brooke's got 3 years.
Yeah, it's got a lot of years, and I'm fascinated about your defense. How do you feel about your defense outlook? I know how many positions do you even have locked in? You probably have some battles going on as we even talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we'll have our first full scrimmage. We were supposed to have it this Sunday, but the high is going to be like 36. So we might need to cancel that and move to MLK Day. But there are battles everywhere. And, we've told them before that, Braud has 6 to 7 outfielders that it doesn't matter which three we put out there. Whoever's out there could be the fastest outfield we've ever had. And it says a lot because she played with Jennifer Fenton and Jazz Lunsford.
Yeah.
That was a very fast outfield. But you put an Audrey, a Kristen, and a Larissa, they're
Oof.
faster. They're faster. So uh, I was like, there should be no triples against us. You know, it should not happen unless it hits a wall and bounces
Right.
somewhere. But very, very good reads, really good arms. Just everywhere you look is a fast outfielder. So that's going to help us out a lot. And our Brisky's, I think bread and butter is her drop ball. So defensively, that's a lot of ground balls for our infield. And we just need to make plays behind them. Because if you make plays behind a drop ball pitcher, she just gets more and more confident because she's like, well, hell, I'm just going to let him hit a ground ball, and let my defense do the work. So that part of it's going to be really fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's also going to be a lot of fun to see Audrey Vandergriff in her sophomore year coming off an All-American year as a freshman. 50 stolen bases. The third Alabama player ever to reach that mark, joining Brittany Rogers, who did it twice, and the aforementioned Kayla Braud on their. I spoke to her last year, a delightful kid. We talked a lot about her track background, track and field, and how that's helped her as a base runner. What have you seen from her and her growth this fall as we get ready for her sophomore year?
Well, I thought she came back in really good shape. She did a lot of stuff over the summer to keep her body healthy, number one. She's been going to a Pilates class in town.
Oh,
And that's, I don't knew when Jackie Trainer was here, she had issues with her back. And our strength coach, Michelle Diltz, also knew a little bit of Pilates, and she had a reformer actually in the weight room. So I truly believe the last 2 seasons, that's what got Jackie through, because it was tough going for her. But Audrey is doing the same thing, and it's more of a preventive. And I don't know if you've ever done Pilates, but it is a pretty good workout. So she is like I said before, she wants to get faster. So we had actually the sprint coach for our men's and women's track team, Lane Wiley, come out. And every Wednesday in November, he took over the team. And, for them, because Michelle is incredible. Blaine is a world-class sprint coach. So she was right there, right beside him every single workout. We were out there listening to everything he had to say. But I think Audrey loved it the most. Great guy, great teacher. And I feel like we got better with that. So again, you can't steal first base. You got to get your person on base, and then you can go. So, and I said too, once she perfects that drag bunt, because she can hit away. I mean, she crushes the ball. And she's working with Bro on maybe just a little slap. Because if a shortstop plays deep against her, all she's got to do is hit a two bouncer and she's on. She's gonna, beat it out without a throw, really. So she's probably gonna be the leadoff again and make us go.
it's going to be exciting to watch. Of course, has the single game stolen base record last year with 5 there, so it's going to be fun to see her if she could chase down some of Brittany Rogers' stolen base records there. You mentioned earlier Hawkins has had a great fall for you. Who else has stood out to you this fall that you think could take that next step?
Abby Dukeshire, who's a senior, and she has just year after year after year, and this is what I was hoping for, because she was a basketball player number one. She was Gatorade Player of the Year 3 times in a row, won 3 state championships in North Dakota, started as a 7th grader, scored over 2,000 points. And now she's going to play for North Dakota her 5th year. So she's going to go play basketball for her 5th season, which is awesome for her. But every year she got stronger in the weight room. She got better with her swing. She truly listened to Coach Adam Arbor and bought in. And I think she's going to have a great year. She's become a really, really good defensive first baseman as well. She's a big target over there. She's 6'2". So we have really, really good options at first base. But I think her Salem just took off this year. Really, really good. Every time they swung, it was a barrel on the ball. And their outs were loud, which is what I like. if you line out to center field, you've done everything correct. So you should be happy about it. It was a really good cut.
Wow. It's incredible. I love the story too. She's only going to play basketball after. I don't know. I don't think you've had that before. Where like, hey, I'm losing a player. It's going to move on to play basketball.
Yes, but hey, she can come away with 2 degrees. She'll have her master's degree after this year.
Yeah.
She'll pick up a second master's in North Dakota. She'll be set for life. Just great kid. Marley Giles too, senior catcher. I think she's going to have a great year. Lauren Johnson, we haven't talked about her, outfielder. Just competes her butt off every single time, gets stuff done. Very good defensively, good base runner, green light girl. We got a lot of options. Kristen White, slapper, triple threat, probably the second fastest behind Audrey. You have Audrey, Kristen, and then Larissa probably in 1, 2, 3. So, like you said before, it's a good problem to have. So we will be having long discussions in this office about lineups.
I know coaches like that have that problem. That's a good problem to
Yes.
have. And Abby's on my list. I'm going to be bugging Nate at some point to like get her on the pod because I'm intrigued to talk to her about this journey because I'm fascinated by her story there.
You would absolutely love her. She's a great personality, great kid, great parents. Her brother played NCAA baseball in Tennessee. So the family is all about some sort of baseball, basketball, softball the entire time that those kids were growing up.
Speak to the senior class. You've highlighted a few of them already, but there's other. So you got a good group here of seniors.
Yeah, Lex Spicillo too.
Who, by the way, 7 homers, 30 RBIs, 302 under the radar.
Yes, and she's told me the other day. She says, "Murph, last year I wasn't sure if I could do it." She said, "This year I feel like I can do it," and that's the mindset you got to have. If you're questioning whether you can do it or not, chances are it's probably going to be a rough go. But she came back, best shape of her life. She worked very hard over the summer, got stronger, got fitter, the whole thing. And she's one of those catchers that I said was a green light girl. So she could actually play first, third, outfield, or catch. And she's she throws right, hits left, but she's got major pop. So it's going to be like, okay, if these 3 hit, where do we put them in the 9-piece puzzle, on the field? And that's what's going to be one of the toughest things, because if 3 specific people are all hitting, we have to find a spot for them, right? So that's the benefit of having good athletes everywhere. Because if you and I are both second base people, and I could play left field, but you can't, and we're 2 of the best 9 hitters on the team, right? You are playing second base, and I'm going to the outfield. It's just the way, that's the way I've done it forever. So the more positions that you can play, if you are one of the best 9 hitters, it's better for you, because we'll find a spot on the field if you're one of the best 9 hitters, and then we go from there. So it's going to be fun.
I was going to say, it sounds to me like I have to go to social media every time the lineups are posted to see who's playing where.
Yes. I have a friend in Iowa that Carrie Anderson is her name, and she played for me at Northwest Missouri State. And I think that's her favorite thing ever is she waits for Nathan Sheehan to post the X starting lineup for Alabama. And, it's just, I hear from her all the time, but it's kind of cool, that she wants to see who's in that lineup.
I think this year applies to that too. For many reasons, who's in the lineup, what position, because it definitely, you've got a lot of versatility, a lot of different options, and a senior crap and a returning group that's probably a little hungry, maybe some unfinished business because you didn't get to Oklahoma City, you ran into Oklahoma and they're there. But have you sensed that from your returners, that kind of like, let's get back to Oklahoma City, that chip on the shoulder? I don't know if chip the right word, but
no,
that motivation.
No, you're right. Absolutely. 100%. And it's, once you go, it's the unwritten rule, the unwritten goal. You want to go back. It's just like everybody knows it. You don't have to say it. You don't have to put it on a board. Once you go, that's where you want to go again. And, we have created this monster ourselves. 26 straight NCAAs, 20 super regionals, 15 College World Series. That's expectation, right? And for me too. Nobody puts more pressure on me than me. So it's just one of those unwritten, yes, our goal is to get to Oklahoma City, period. You know, and it was 2000 was the first time. And that's what's expected. You're at Alabama, you need to go to the World Series. So they've worked really, really hard all fall. It's been great. We've had, I think, 7 practices, this year. We had 23 before we play Villanova at Georgia Tech. So on the very first day, I said, okay, this is day 1 of 23. We have to get ready. And we don't need to be our best February 5th. We want to be our best in June. So it is a steady climb, and we're going to get better and better and better. And that's been the goal, since I started here.
Couple quick things before I let you go. The schedule, fascinating. You open in Atlanta again, which is I don't know. It's kind of become a kind of a tradition somewhat. It seems like every year or every other year you're up there in Atlanta with Georgia Tech hosting.
Yeah, and Villanova, which
yes.
2 years ago, that's who we played opening day. So we love Bridget and her staff. Villanova, great lady, great coach, very underrated coach. She wins
Yes.
everywhere she goes. So we open with them, Georgia Tech. Next weekend we come home. We play Bama Bash at home. Third weekend we go down to Lonnie and Florida State. We come back for the fourth weekend. And then fifth weekend is we go over to Ole Miss for the first time in a long time. SEC play starts. And our bye weekend is late March, and we were lucky to get North Dakota State to come. And I kind of kidded with Dukeshire. I said, well, this is your homecoming. They're coming to you. So it is her senior day on that Saturday.
Fitting.
Yes. And we're also going to do a night on the diamond. After that game, we're going to have a big fundraiser with a lot of people. And, it'll be a fun night. I'm praying that the weather cooperates because we're literally doing it on the field.
Yes.
So, yeah, it'll be a fun weekend for Abby, and Larissa's senior day is the day before. So lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's gonna be busy. You got Dot Richardson coming in to that tournament
Yes.
at Bama Bash.
Yeah.
She couldn't stop talking about that when I interviewed her a month ago about coming to your place.
That's awesome. We love her. She had a hell of a year. What a great year for Liberty, and they did what some thought was the impossible. Went into #1 seed and beat them. At their place, and just had a really good year. And she does a good year every year, consistently.
It's going to be incredible. A couple the committee this year is going to be seeding 32 teams. Start for the tournament. I thought of you when this came out because I know you've brought this up in the past. Your reaction now that it's here with 32 seeds starting this year.
I think it's good for the sport. My best friend at Alabama is 2 doors down. It's the soccer coach. They've been doing it. Volleyball has done it before. So I think it's just, I think it's good for our sport, and it's needed. We'll see how it goes. So, I think everything's just getting better and better. And, with the Olympics coming in 28 in Oklahoma City, I saw something about tickets yesterday where you could enter the lottery so that's coming up. So anybody watches this and wants to go to Oklahoma City, you better get on that right now. But I think everything in the sport just gets better and better and better when we're back in the Olympics. The coverage gets better. The financial support obviously is much better for Team USA when they're in the Olympics, and it trickles down to everybody. TV's great, media's great, and I think it just adds to the sport when we're in the Olympics. And I just feel like we're on this upswing with everything. Facilities are better, coaches are better, players are better. You guys do a great job. The fans love the game. Wherever we go, that's just, I think if I could have one thing, I wish there could be either a city, a person build softball only facilities, especially for AUSL. Like, we need to have softball only facilities, like Hall of Fame Stadium, in different cities, not just in one. Think of all the minor league parks that are everywhere in the country. and then a major league park that are, 32 major league teams.
Yep.
There's really only one for softball,
Right.
and it's in Oklahoma City. So I wish we had some people that love the sport that could, and obviously it costs, and to do it right, it's going to cost, it's a good penny, but I think it would pay off dividends. You could start to have a hometown pro team and just be there for a long, long time and let the tradition and the legacy start in that city. And I think it would pay off. And I think you could have college tournaments. You could have summer ball tournaments. It would definitely pay off.
100% agree. Growing it out facility wise, I think that's the next step for the sport there. Not be the last question I have for you. As you get to Atlanta, what are you looking forward to finding out about this group? Maybe some questions you can't answer until you play other opponents that you think will be keys to this season.
Well, really, the first one is how tough are they? And you don't want to have to come from behind on the first weekend. But if you do, and you do come back and you win a game with a walk-off, or maybe a comeback in the 6th or 7th inning, that says a lot. And, I'll say it over and over and over. Like, if we don't win a game, like if we're behind, I'll say that day is coming. I'd rather have it sooner than later. But that shows us a little bit how tough we are, how resilient we are, how gritty we are. And hey, it's okay also if we run rule everybody, but probably not going to happen in the SEC, right? So I want to see this grittiness, this never say die, how tough you are, and who gives a rip what the score is. Just play the game, do what you need to do, and chances are the results will take care of themselves. So first weekend, that's always what I'm looking for. And then with so many, we have 8 new kids out of 21. So the 6 freshmen and the 2 transfers that we talked about, you like to see what they, can do too in an Alabama uniform. That's always exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Patrick Murphy, Alabama head coach, entering his 28th season. Hard to believe, Hall of Famer, national champion, joining us here on In the Circle at D1 Softball. Coach, always a pleasure to get you on. I know it's super busy with you. You got a lot of demands, but I always appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and appreciate that. Good luck this season. I'm sure we'll cross paths, and thanks for everything you do in the sport and coming on with us here on In the Circle and D1 Softball.
Hey, thanks for what you do for the sport, because if you didn't do what you do, a lot of people wouldn't know, myself or our sport. So what you do is important, and I'm probably speaking for a lot of people, but thanks for what you do.